Welcome to our EdTech Summit here, April 2022. I'm Karen Plant. As mentioned, I'm part of the TIPS team, and I'm going to start our presentation off this morning. We will start today with our acknowledgement that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. This team is a bit new. So we have been the TIPS team for many a year, but we've restructured ourselves as many departments centrally have. We have a sub-department in our technology, information management, technology and ampersand, information management department that was formerly called district technology. And our sub-department is school supports and training. And this department, we have our supervisor, Aaron Muller, who's busy doing supervisor things right now and sends his regards. Underneath as our TIPS team. So I'm Karen, and then we have Blythe Evans, Bernice Cui, and Will Rice, and their cameras are on here, and they'll be speaking today. And then we also work with our library team, Jenna Walters and Raj. So these groups of people, we sit together, work together, and we're looking forward to further work supporting schools in a variety of ways. Today's updates are live as a throwback to days of yore when we were in the CFE and we could meet together. We would gather together in Macaulay Chambers, have some coffee, and talk about what's new around the division and outside of the division. So today we'll start with some division-specific updates. We'll share some Google Workspace updates, what's changed, and then we'll have some time to engage together. So you on your device, wherever you are, with whatever you're using to connect to the internet, we hope you can engage with us and play our game. So with that, I am going to turn division updates over to Blythe and Will.
Good morning, everyone. Very pleased to be here with you. And most of what we'll share with you also comes to you on a monthly basis at the beginning of the month, usually within the first week in our EdTech Leads update. So if you are the EdTech lead at your school, you should be receiving those monthly updates. They usually come from me, but they're on behalf of the team. Like I said, in the first week. And so if you're maybe new to the EdTech lead position, we might not have you on our list. So make sure that you're getting those updates. And if not, please send us an email, as there's a lot of information that we try and share with you. And we'd like to recap and highlight some of the things that are important. And so throughout the pandemic, our supports have shifted and trying to be responsive to you in your schools and the changing situation. And so as things start to return to normal, dare I say, just know that our supports continue to be responsive as they continue or maybe start to shift back to what they might have been previously. So as things open up, we can be in your schools a little bit more, and we have flexibility to offer either online or in-person PD as we continue to support your school, also your catchment. So it could be a group of schools or your whole catchment if you have catchment PD days. We can also, we continue to provide online sessions in our online PL calendar, not as frequently as they once were, but definitely a place to keep checking as we have been moving towards creating more tutorial videos, and then hoping to have a live session at the end of what would be a group of those videos around a theme. So 3 videos starting over the first 3 weeks of the month, and then the 4th week wanting to meet with you and respond to any questions or ideas that you might want to share with the group. So those are posted in Connect as well, and we'd love to get more engagement with those and hear more how we can support your PD needs. We also continue to think about PD workshops and seminars, so longer, maybe half-day or full-day sessions. Again, wanting to be responsive to topics and session needs for you. So continue to check the PDR for those more formal sessions as well. Our makerspace supports have shifted. And so we are now in collaboration more formally with Career Pathways as well as our curriculum and learning supports teams. There are 3 consultants on those teams: Graham Dowdle, who is our 3D printing and coding specialist, as well as 2 science consultants who have joined in and are really spearheading some of this work and offering some sessions through the PDR. So you'll notice that our makerspace page on our site has changed, where the kits are no longer being loaned. That project has ended, as it was a try before you buy, and we're finding now that the uptake of schools with their own makerspace equipment has increased significantly. So all the information is still up there in terms of suggestions of things to start out with. And then the CLS consultants have joined in and provided some of their resources too, to really bridge that movement from the technology across into pedagogy and into curriculum. So keep looking for updates on there, as we will continue to collaborate with them and continue to update our resources on our site as well.
Hey there. So this won't be a new one either. A couple of years ago, Google gave us a wonderful product of Google Expeditions and then added on Tour Creator so we could create our own content. And then promptly after 2 years, depreciated the products and they no longer exist. So unfortunately with that, much like with our Maker Try Before You Buy kits, we're not loaning our kits anymore. The feedback from teachers was strongly that Expeditions and Tour Creator was the backbone of the value of that hardware. And so we took that to heart, and we've moved on. If you do have kits in your school, there are a couple of things you can do to repurpose that technology, and even a new app that's just recently coming online that we're starting testing with to make sure it works, so that we could really seal of approval it for everybody who has a kit. But that document link there will take you to that AR, VR, what to do with your hardware, what apps to look into, and what still works and what doesn't. So if you do have more questions about that, do feel free to reach out to any of us. We can have that discussion with you. But it seems like we were a little bit ahead of the curve. We were too cutting edge. Maybe we were bleeding edge on this one. But I think it was of great value to the information we learned from the board, and the experiences that students had in classrooms. I think was awesome. It was one of my favorite visits to classrooms, was to do an AR or a VR trip to a school for sure.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, Smartermarks has been offered with a division license to support specifically online teachers, but also our in-person teachers, with either paper and pencil assessment or options for online administration of assessment. Those licenses will continue to be valid until the end of August, so to cover off summer school. But as of September 2022, that will now be a school to pay option. And we know that many of our high schools have heavily invested into Smartermarks, and that started moving down into our junior highs as well, with the collaborative communities and the open banks of questions. So if that's something that you would like to continue with, know that your access will not be lost. You will always be able to log in and access your questions and things that you've created, but you won't be able to create anything new, and you won't be able to administer assessments anymore. So if that's something that you'd like to continue with, please reach out to your school administrator, as they can support you to make that decision going forward. The creator of Smartermarks, Jason Cooper, continues to be very supportive and stay in touch with us. So he does have PD videos as well as PD sessions that he continues to offer. So do check the website, and we try and include those updates in the monthly newsletter as well when we hear from him. Do note that if you haven't signed on in a little while, there was a recent update to the login for Smartermarks. So we're now using Google single sign-on. So the first time you log in, you'll see a couple extra clicks, but then you won't need an extra password, because it will be the same as your division password, and it is slightly more secure using the Google login. So that'll be for staff and for students.
All right. So we are going into, actually, believe it or not, year 3 of our technology evergreening strategy for the division. That's where you may have seen Chromebooks or classroom displays, projectors, or interactive panels, workstations, or print photocopiers and print solutions in your schools coming from what's called TES. You may have heard about that. Really, that's just our division's way of moving forward and ensuring that we've sort of leveled the playing field on access to all these types of technology. These are the things that all of our schools need. And so having schools having to do a bunch of work to make the same decisions that all the other schools have to make didn't make a lot of sense. So we're really working hard to ensure that we hit our targets, our ratios, and that things are getting to schools in a timely manner, which over the last couple of years, you might imagine, with supply chain issues has been difficult, but we continue to strive to get things to everybody in time and plan far ahead to make sure that we can work around those. As always, your school technician is your first point of contact. They can talk to you about anything in your school technology related, about TS items, school bot, PAC funded, any of those sorts of things. But if you ever want to know sort of like where we all pull from, the tech central, everybody, the page on Connect about this has pretty much all of the information you would need to understand how that project works, how that program works, and what you might expect to see from it in the future at your school. So do reach out with questions to your ETS Tech if you do have any. Check that page on Connect, or worst case, you can always zip a email to the TIPS team member. We can help connect some dots if that's is something we're pretty good at. So do feel free to reach out if you have any questions. But we hope you all see the benefit of that over the next 5 to 7 years when we sort of wrapped up the whole division at least once.
So another shift that we've seen since the pandemic is provincial exams being canceled and now coming back. So the April diploma exams were just written, and we're planning ahead for the May and June PATs and diplomas. And since the pandemic, we've seen an increase in uptake in technology integration in general, which then is following through to our assessment situations. So a definite uptake with the grade 6 PAT wanting to be written digitally. And of course, continuing with the grade 9 and the grade 12 exams as well. So there are some updates to Quest A+. They have done a recent update and added some extra features. So just a few of them are listed here, and there are more. So please check out the Quest A+ website if that's your choice for writing digital exams. We do continue to offer the EPSB secure exam solution for Chromebooks, and that includes read and write features. So all of the read and write features that are permitted by the province have been turned on, and all of the features that are not permitted have been turned off. So no requirement there for extra setup for you. Recent conversations with the province also provides a slight change in how audio files will be provided, where you still request them from the province as an accommodation, but the audio files can be accessed through our team, which simplifies the process for you, decreases the workload, and makes it much simpler for students to access those through the secure exam tile with just a URL for each exam. So if you have any questions about that, send an email, as we want to make sure that students are confident and comfortable with that process prior to their exams. Because of the increase in the number of schools that are wanting to use the digital process, we're once again offering a PD session, and that's this Thursday, but we will accommodate all that need support. So again, reach out anytime. And that PD session is open, so the number of seats has been increased. So if you are able to attend, that's this Thursday at 3 p.m. Otherwise, there is a well-written resource and certainly personalized support there for you.
All right. So as Blythe mentioned, with the uptake on provincial exams and the ability for students in our solution to use some read and write tools, it makes a lot of sense, as always, to make sure our students are feeling comfortable with that suite of tools. Read and write for Chrome remains our one-stop shop, our most our accessibility suite to go with Google Workspace for all of our students. A couple of changes have happened in the last little while. You'll hear about them. We have Amelia Bird coming to present from TextHelp today to give us all the lowdown on one of their newest tools, which is their updated PDF reader called OrbitNote. And that's a really great, we get asked quite a bit, well, how should I mark up a PDF? How do I get my students to work in a PDF? Well, we've provided that with all the same accessibility tools with read and write. So it's definitely something to take a look at today if you're not familiar with it and you haven't seen it in a little while. The recent update to TextHelp also brought a lot of the features from docs into slides. So you will see that there's more functionality in slides than ever before. So it's something else to kind of take a quick look at and get to learn about. But as always, if you do require additional support or you have questions about read and write, you can always check out our support documentation, reach out to us for some PL for your staff, or even to talk to you about how we suggest you introduce this to students so they feel comfortable and confident with the tools heading into exams and other situations. So if you haven't had a chance, check out that session today with Amelia, and we'll see what she has to share. She's new to us. She's our new our PD trainer from TextHelp, so we're looking forward to meeting her today.
Okay, another trend that we've seen over the pandemic is an increased need for responsive support for digital citizenship. And so one of the initiatives of our team is to support you with proactive digital citizenship. And so as a team, we just finished doing a course to learn more about the frameworks and the resources that are available to support you all the way from kindergarten to grade 12. So because we know this is ongoing support, not just for Digital Citizenship Week, but hopefully throughout the entire school year, we continue to post regular updates in the monthly newsletter, as well as on our website, just sharing ideas, simple resources, discussion topics, things you can start off with right away in your classroom. Fortunately, the new frameworks are very closely aligned with our health curriculum, as well as some of our ICT curriculum and our social studies resources. So lots of through lines there. So digital citizenship doesn't have to be that one more thing that you teach, rather an integrated approach. There's even a real focus on our high schools. So a new resource will be posted soon with specific resources for high school and how to integrate across the whole school, not just into a class. So continue to reach out. We'd love to hear your successes if this is already an initiative that you are taking on strongly, either in your classroom or across your school. Or if you're looking for some support, that's also something that the TIPS team would love to hear from you and move forward with. And our last division update is in regards to our Division 1 to 3 EdTech Leads Network. This group has now been formally in the works for, I want to say 3 years now. I think 3 years as of January. We kind of had a half year to start with. So we continue to gain momentum and get more and more leads coming from across the division. As we know, this could be quite a large group of about 160 schools. And so attendance is always optional and the group fluctuates, but we do have some kind of originals or some steadies, the regulars that come all the time. And so the point of this group is to connect. This is a meeting facilitated by our team, but definitely is for you as EdTech leads to share your concerns and your successes and share back your focus so that we can, again, be responsive to the support needed either in your school, in your catchment, or at the division level. We focus each month around a discussion topic and a theme, and then we have a special guest that comes and presents something, shares something in the session to then inspire or give you some further information. So we have an ongoing agenda for the entire year, and that is shared with you through the emails and the updates. And those meetings happen the third week of every month, and we alternate or try to alternate between Tuesdays and Wednesdays to try and accommodate as many people's schedules as possible. We will continue with those in an online format through Google Meet, and we do meet at 3:45. So if you are available and interested, please come and join us. We'd love to have you as part of the discussion.
As you can imagine, over the last couple of years, there have been an immense number of updates to Google Chrome and all things assorted to Google Workspace, including a name change that I kind of forgot also happened during COVID. But I'm going to give you a couple of the highlights today of the things that have been most recent. However, as I posted previously, we post these highlights monthly in our EdTech newsletter. So I threw that back in the chat. So if you want to go back, you can actually look back through the archive and see these updates throughout the last number of years at this point. Some of the highlights include, you might have noticed recently, a bunch of things changing in docs and slides, specifically docs. So about a year ago, docs and slides transitioned to canvas-based rendering, which I'm not a coder, so all I know is that it means they can turn on new features more often and they can do some cool things. You might have noticed that recently with things like the ability to transition to borderless paper, some of the features around additional watermarking and things like that. So there's a bunch of features that they seem to be coming out with now that they have this new framework that docs and slides runs in. So I think that's really exciting because it shows that they're just committed to continuing to give us some of those tools that we kind of miss, but also some like borderless paper that might work really well for things we don't need to print, but we want to be longer than one page. So we do have some interesting opportunities there. Running a session later today, Chrome turned 100 recently, 100 versions, not 100 years, obviously. So there are many, many new tools coming in Chrome and many new features. So we're going to do a little bit of catch up of the best features that have come out since about version 88, which is several years ago. And probably the last time we ran a lot of sessions on Chrome was about version 90. So we've had a little ways to go. So to come tune in there, check out the presentation to learn a bit more about that. As Karen showed us right at the beginning, Meet and Chat, specifically Meet, really have improved. So even though we've sort of gone back to in-person learning in general, Meet has continued to improve and give us more and more controls for co-hosting, more granular controls over what participants can and can't do. Works better with Classroom. They've made it a little more integrated and a little bit easier to join for students with a button instead of a weird link up at the top that was easy to miss. So Meet and Chat have continued to improve. Along with that, Chat has become so popular that they added Spaces, which is the old Rooms, which is like which is groups of chatting. And in the next few years, we're going to see Currents, where we have our current EdTech community. If you haven't been there, check it out. Still registered. Still got a year or so to learn more in there. It'll be transitioning in some way, shape, or form to larger spaces as part of that chat interface. So that's something that we're going to have to navigate. We haven't seen what that looks like yet. It hasn't even launched in that form to transition to. So, but just to be aware that those things are changing. So we will have to change with them. And if you're part of our EdTech community, you'll be seeing some messaging with that over the next year or so. And last but not least, I don't want to speak to any of the new features, but I am aware of a number of new classroom features coming next year for teachers and students. So stay tuned as we head into the spring and in late summer as these features may become live and we'll be able to speak to them. And some of them look pretty exciting. There might be some forms on steroids kind of action happening in classroom with some more the ability to build some better learning materials directly in classroom instead of just posting and linking to other things, which would be probably my favorite thing I've seen coming for the fall. So let's hope that that gets to production quickly after the beta and we're able to give it a try. With that, I turn it on back to Karen, I believe, or at least one of the two.
Thanks. So those are the updates from today. This is where our recording ends. So if you didn't join us live, that's okay. We have lots of other options to connect in the future.